All right, so, and let's just go ahead and say this is. Now, it's important to put these notes, okay? This is just best practice. I'm very, very, very picky about my coding, and I like for things to make sense. I like for things to have a flow, especially if you're doing programming. I mean, if you're doing parallel programming, or if you're doing shared programming, or if somebody else is taking this up after you, it's always good to have good notes. Also, if you take a break and come back, you'll be like, okay, what was I thinking here? And I do that a lot. Okay. So first thing, why is that one still existing? We should have got rid of it. Oh, it's right here. All right, so let's get rid of this one because we're not using it. Again, it's going to yell at us, be like, hey, these don't exist. But this is beginning to give you the idea of how this works. So what I'm going to do is I do like using this word temp because these are truly temporary. So we've got a temporary, let's just get one working and then we'll copy the rest. How's that sound? So these arguments have a get method. So if I take Mongo URL, and I put it here. Now it's going to get whatever this data, oh, it's a string, and it's going to get whatever this data is passed into this variable, okay? Now I'm going to put some enters here because we're going to talk about this one in a few seconds, but let's go ahead and grab this, and you know what, let's do best practice. Let's just say var, because we're adults and we program correctly, and oops, and let's just create a couple of these because we're going to need them. All right, so the next one, and we're just going to go down the line, right? So the next one's database. So let's just say database, and then we'll come to the naming in a few minutes. So this one is our collection, our Mongo collection. Mongo action performed, that's pretty important. So we're going to go ahead and grab that. And then we'll go ahead and get save data, even though we're not going to use it until we do the get method. Until we do the insert, update, what are you going to call it? But we definitely, because we're doing the get first. Here, and then we go to here. Okay, and now let's give them some names. The names are pretty simple. I just stick with the same naming convention that's here, right? So let's do Mongo database. It's just basically this. Okay. The only one I guess I did do is the URL. I didn't put MongoDB in front of it. That's okay. But like I said, I do like the word temp because these are just temporary variables. Okay, filter data key. Okay, and then we'll just, because you can just grab it like that. Okay, and then we're going to get rid of this one. Now for our return, we're going to leave this blank for now. But basically we need to get our return as a result. Okay, so what we're going to do is the output is here. Okay, and we're going to set that there. And then for that, let me think. Let's just go ahead and do this. So we'll create a dummy variable called data equals nothing, just so we have something there. And of course we got to declare it. This isn't Python. And then here we'll just say data. Okay, perfect. So that's going to return a blank data. Okay. Okay, awesome. So now the next step, what I want to do is we've got to actually use this. So here in our try catch, I don't like this, but that's fine. What you can actually do is, now this came from that page. So what this is going to do, this is actually a Javelin command, and it's going to pop up that message inside Javelin. But what I like to do is write this to a log file. If we have time towards the end, I'll show you how to do that. But right now, let's just get this going. So the first thing I need to do is figure out what your action is. So let's go ahead and do this. And I'm going to do that before I set that. So let's create a switch. And inside the switch, we're going to do temp MongoDB action. And I'm going to put to lower because I don't care if you well, I do care if you misspell it, but I don't care if you do uppercase, if you do lowercase, if you do capital, camel case, whatever, I don't care. But the first one we're going to do is we're going to do get first because that's what we're doing. And in here, we'll just leave it blank for now, but you always have to have a break. So we'll do it that way. And then we'll just do a default just so we kind of look weird. Okay, there we go. Either we'll probably never use it. Okay, so the get, we have to declare a method. Now, I know I can get resharper to do that for me. This is writer, but resharper's the cleanup behind it. I think it's Control-Shift-M will create a method, but I'm just going to do it myself because we have it down here, and I have a little bit more control over that. So let's just go ahead and create some variables. So the first thing I've got to do in my get is I need to do what? Oh, we need the URL, right? And then we need the database. And then we need the collection. Oops. And then we need to tell it the filter that we want to bring back. So we'll say data, let's just call it filter key. And then the filter object. Now the filter object is going to be kind of tricky, or value, I'm sorry. I was thinking it needs to be an object because I don't know if it's an integer or a string. Okay, so we're going to make it an object. Now with that, let's go ahead and grab this and let's go to our get and let's put that there. And then what we need to do is var data equals, right? Because we're returning this. And then what we will do is pass in our, oops, I don't do VR because I already declared it. That's why, okay. So that's another good reason why it's declared above here. I thought we did. Oh, you know what? We moved it below. That's why. Okay, so let's put it up here. There we go. So now I can do this, and we just loaded it with that data. So this doesn't get a string, but it does get URL temp. Okay, and then this one gets temp database. I do it this way to make sure I don't miss anything. Database. And then this one is temp collection. You kind of get where I'm going with this, right? Mongo collection. This is our key value. So what do we call that one? Let's start with temp. If I spell it right, temp data key. Okay, and the last one's data value. So I'll just grab it like this. And then just correct it that way. Okay, cool. So, and then of course, C# has to have a semicolon. So there we go. So now whatever we get back here, we can pass it to there, which then gets set back to our return. Kind of nifty, huh? All right, so what we're going to do is now make this happen. So again, you can look at the reference online. Most of it I kind of remember. So what we're going to do is we have to do our DB client, which equals our new Mongo. You have to set a reference to that, and that's going to be our URL. So we'll just call it URL. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Mongo client, not DB client. Mongo. I guess the new could have gave it to me. So MongoDB client. This one's what we need. Okay, cool. So now we got our client. Now we're going to need our database. Our database is going to be a. Now we need our DB client dot get database, and that's going to be our database. Okay. And then once I got an error, let's call it maybe a key. Oh, duh, because we have it right there. So we'll call it DB database. I know it's not a good name, but it's because we declared it right there. All right. Okay. And we'll probably need to do the same thing with our collection because we can end up with the same mistake. So let's go ahead and copy this. And let's get our collection. So our collection gets kind of weird. I'll show you one in a few seconds. We'll call it collection equals, it's Mongo get collection, but you have to declare it as a type. Let's see, Mongo, is it get? Oh, I'm sorry, it's database. No, not that, my bad. So once you have your database, you want the collection off the database. And again, don't take my word for any of this. Look online. It's really not hard. They've got a lot of great examples. Get collection, we need to declare it as a type. And this is where it's a basin document. Okay, that's where that other jar file comes in at. And then here, DB collection is what we're passing it. There we go, perfect. So now let's get some real estate because it's kind of annoying. So now we're going to do our data return. Data to return equal, if I can spell, return equals nothing. So we're declaring an empty variable. I can check if what this object is because I only care if two, but I don't think I need to do that. But we're going to do it anyway, just in case you have to do it. Okay. So if value, the way you check an object in C++ is you can say is string, and that's it. Okay. Python has the same thing, which is pretty cool. So if it's a string, what we're going to do is let's load it into a variable. Okay. Temp var equals data filter. Well, I'm sorry, we didn't call it data filter, we called it filter value dot toString. And that's all we gotta do, okay? So now we can just use it normal. So the trick with Mongo is I need to create a filter. And the reason I do that is because what if you're looking for an integer? What if you're looking for a string? Sorry, it was a coffee break. So filter, so this needs a builder. Okay, that's how you do it. So we're going to build a filter, and we want it to be a based on document. Okay, and in that based on document, we need to do, it's now using filter equals, so this is just link, L-I-N-Q, if you don't know what that is. Okay, so now we need to say filter key, comma, temp var. So that's how that works. And building the filter, all it's saying is in the filter, if it's a string, go ahead and make sure that you pass it this way. And again, I don't think you need this, but the only thing I did was I declared this as a string right here. And I passed it as a string. So technically, whatever this value was, as long as the value, this object is a string, I don't think you need to check. Okay, but it never hurts to do that. So now we're going to do the next one. And what if what if the value is actually an integer? Because and you can also do a decimal, right? And that's why I don't think this is important. But just for this demo, we're going to do it this way. I'm just going to grab this stuff right here. And then put it there. And then this, and you can't do toInt, so you have to declare it a little bit different. In C#, we're going to force declare. There we go. And now that's going to declare it that way, and that's going to be the same thing. That creates our next filter. The one thing we've got to do now is get our collection. So let's do it here first. So we say var return data. I don't think that's important, but now we need to do collection.find. Right? Oh, seriously. Collection.find. And now there's async, but I'm not going to do async. There's many different finds, right? But I'm going to do the basic find with the filter. But again, look at the documentation for that because there's a lot of options. And then what we need to do in our find method is we need to make sure that we do our filter, which is what we created above. And then because there's going to be more than one, I'm just going to say, give me the first or default. That way I don't have any issues. Okay. And then we need to close that off. Did I? F-I-L-T. Yeah. Okay. I guess I spelled that right. Okay. So, and then that's it. And so now let's go ahead and set our return, which is here. Now, again, you probably could do this in one line, but it's better to do it this way and then force it afterwards. So, and then we'll go into toString. And then that's it. So let's go ahead and grab this, and we're going to need this down here. Now, we're doing one thing I hate. We're doing redundant code. So we did redundant code. I hate it. But again, you can clean this up afterwards if you need to. Now, that should be all we need. The most important thing to me, though, is a try catch. So let's go ahead and stick that in there. And we're going to take our exception. Now, later on, I'll show you how to add a log file. Basically, I just force it to log out to something like the local drive. That way, I can see what it's actually doing. So we can, and I don't want it to throw anything. What we can just do is say var error equals oops. Most importantly, I just want oops. I just want it to catch any errors. Now, of course, we'd write those errors out so we can see what they are, blah, 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 blah. But let's see where we are. Let's see if this works. Now, this was a lot of information, and I apologize about that, but that's why this is a video. You can stop it and rewind it again. The other ones won't take as long. Notice this tell me spaces out. The cool thing about ReSharper is I can say copy, and we can do refactor, or is it code, and then reformat and clean up, and just say run, full cleanup. And now it's going to line things back up for me. Okay, cool. I wish, I think the Python does that for you, but Python's such a pain about keeping things in the right place. So let's talk about what we did. So we created our arguments. We have a save. Well, we have our Mongo information here. Okay. Once we do our save, we'll pass in data there, but it's only used for the save. So, or the create. Okay. So we're not going to do that yet. The one we're doing first is get. Okay, and I know you should do create first and then read and then update and delete if you don't know what CRUD stands for. But I'm going to do read first because to me that's probably the easiest. And then I'm just going to return back this data. So what we're doing is we're creating our connection to Mongo. Okay, and then from there we build our filters. Okay. From the parameters that we're passing in, right, from our arguments. And then here we're checking if a string or int. Now, to do, I don't think you need to check, but that should be tested. Okay, and then, and if so, you would need float. Okay, because you can pass in a float as well. Now that's part of the to do, but that's fine. Because that would get deleted anyway. And then what we're doing is once we get our collection, we're going to find it based off this filter that we're going to pass in. It's going to be a document, which is just JSON. We're going to convert it to a string just because the JSON has other information into it. And then we're just going to return our data. Our data, if you remember, yeah, that's fine. So if there's an error, we're going to return here. But one of these should return. And what that is doing is going to return it as a string. Oh, we didn't return that now, did we? So we need to return that. So we'll do that. That's what I was thinking. It's like, oh, we messed up somewhere. So we need to return that. So we can stick it right here. Let's make sure it's the right spot. Data to return. There we go. So now it looks right. So now we're going to return that data back up here to our output. Oh, actually our output should be below that. So where's our output? It's going to be in here. Here's our switch, our call and our get. Oh, here it is. So whatever the data is that gets filled here will be sent back to Javelin. So that's a lot of stuff, Tim. Dude, you got to put your money where your mouth is. So let's go fix this. All right. So first thing we want to do is let's remove this one. So let's go actions, manage extensions. And then I can go installed extensions and I can remove that one. Now the refresh on Javelin really stinks. So we'll do it this way. And then you should see that it's gone. So now the Mongo one's gone. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do is close that. Do I still have that path? So we've done with references. Let's close that. Now here is where something that I found. Oh, that's our build. So yeah, we'll keep that one open. I found it was a massive oops. Okay. Now, if you remember at the beginning of the video, I said that there's something I don't like. Unfortunately, to add all these to Javelin so it can recognize the Mongo DLL. Well, actually, it's the references. Oh, we haven't built this one yet. That's why. So let's go ahead and delete that. Now let's build it. What you have to do is, unfortunately, copy all those. Oh, we got an error. What's going on? What happened? Yeah, I was afraid that find didn't look right. So let's see, VR, find. Give me 1 second to look at it. Filter.equal, and then return collection, find, filter. No, I think it's right. Not sure if I'm missing a DLL. Oh yeah, I am missing. So we're missing the core. Okay. So again, that's part of the problems, right? So 90% of your problem is going to be just trying to figure that piece out. So let's go to, oh, you know what? I probably should, no, let's see, that's this extension. Let's not delete the extension one because that's my demo, this one. And then Mongo, because I went through and I added like, oh my gosh, do I need that? Do I need that? Do I need that? That's why I'm trying to keep this simple for you. But we do need Mongo driver core. So let's go ahead and copy that one, paste. Okay. And now here, let's go back to our project and let's add that dependency. Dependencies, add, seriously, 1 second. Should we add dependencies? But did I mess it over here? References NuGet. Like you could use NuGet, but NuGet can't find all this stuff, and that's kind of cumbersome as well. Bear with me. Pause while I plug up my laptop here. There we go. I'm probably not going to pause the video. I'm just going to pause what I'm doing. Okay, so now let's add, where's my add references? Give me 1 second. Publish. Oh, add reference. There we go. See, you think that would be like on your references or something, you know, make it a lot easier to find, but that's okay. So here we need the core. Okay, so now the core's there. So now if we save and build, so Control S for save, and then build, build select a project. Now the cool thing is once I had this working, or at least added, then I could open up Visual Studio. So if you feel more comfortable with Visual Studio, start the project and then open it up in Visual Studio. So now if we go over here and look, now I have these DLLs. Now what I had to do was copy those DLLs to the root of Javelin. And that's why when you go in here and look, you'll now see MongoDB. And when you do that, you have to restart Javelin whenever you do it. But it's not really a clean way that I could find to get these DLLs over into here other than just copying and pasting them over. Now your extension still goes in here. All right, so let's delete these and continue. That's fine. And you can delete them as long as Javelin's not running. And then we'll copy this one over because that's our main one. And continue. All right, now we open up Javelin. Now again, I don't like that because if you're building something massive, now what I'm doing is keeping the references in a clean folder. But if you're building something massive, you got a lot of these, you had to drop them over into the root of Javelin. And I really didn't like that. But let's go ahead and add a extension. We're going to browse. Hopefully it remembers. Nope. Let's see. Well, to do that, the shortcut is to do this. Properties. Open file location. Just grab it right here. Copy. Paste. Go there. Extensions. Go here. Now, I still see the Mongo, and we're going to go ahead. Now, if you just say go, it's going to add it to this extensions folder. But I'm going to call it MongoDB, and I'm going to put a 1 there, just so we know that we're starting a new one. But on the last one, we'll put it in a clean folder. Okay, so we're going to import, and now it wants us to restart again. So we're going to go ahead and restart. And now we'll create another test, so new test. And let's go ahead and drag this one over, and drag it down. And now it's in, hey, you've got, now see, here's what's important. Remember this information that we have over here? Let's get this here. This information, now you can see that that's what's here. Okay. So that's our Mongo URL. So what we're going to do now, I cheated and I saved my settings because I don't want to retype them. Okay. So now this is local on my machine, so you can't steal it, but don't really care if you try. It's just local. So our connection string is here. And then let's go into here. Now this has to be a string value, so let's do it this way. Okay, and then what we're looking at here is, this is our table, our database. So let's go to our database, which is here. And the collection, oops. And the collection is grades. Okay. Now, we can verify that by looking here. So we have sample training and grades, and that's what we want. Now the action we want, remember, it's going to know what the action is a get. So display names, fine. Let's say get Mongo data. So we'll come back to the filter in a few seconds. The action we want is a get. Now again, I'm doing case sensitive. I mean, I'm making everything lowercase, so it doesn't really care. Okay, it's going to drop it to case sensitive anyway. So we'll get our URL. Our return data is not going to be anything yet. Oh no, it has to be something because we are returning something. So let's go down and see if we have any variables, which we don't. So we'll just say return data is a string. And notice it gave us an ugly mark, like, dude, you can't do that, that's cheating. All right, so there we go. And now, because it's an output wants that. Save data though, I didn't make it require, so we're gonna put something in there. Now our key here, we want it to be, now let's see if we can do this without cheating. We're just gonna grab the student ID too. So what we want our key to be is student ID. Okay, and now, oh, I keep doing a single quote because of Python, so sorry, it's double quote. And then we want our key value to be 2. Now it's going to bring back a bunch of them. Oh no, I screwed that one up because I didn't make it an object, did I? Let's go look. No, I did not. Okay, so that's our first oops. Okay, so let's go key value. This needs to be an object. Okay, yay, that was fun. Good practice, good practice. So what we're gonna do is do it again. So let's go ahead and do this. And because I could do a string, but I don't think it's gonna bring back data. Just because in the database, it's not a string value. So let's do that. Now let's rebuild. But what I like to do is make sure things are clean before I rebuild. Just make sure I don't have any garbage linking around. So we'll do a rebuild. Like I said, it's good practice though. So build. Once that's done, we'll grab here, and all we need is this one. Now again, remember, if it's not working, copy all these. You don't need the PBD, right? That's just an error. I mean, just a debugging thing. Copy all those to the Javelin root, okay? But what we're gonna do, oh, we don't need that anymore, so let's close out. I need Javelin though. Did I close Javelin? Nope, it's right here. So let's delete that one. Just again, I don't like having gibberish. And continue. And there we go. There's our extension. Now let's see if that worked. And so here's the most cumbersome thing. Well, not the most, but it's, you got to do this over and over. So we're going to add it and make sure you show extensions and make sure that's checked. Okay, because you can have more than one. Okay, so you can turn it off or turn it on. So if I had a lot of methods or a lot of classes, I don't have to show them all, right? So MongoDB, we'll just add it back. That's fine. And it said, hey, it worked, but notice it's not over here. So you got to close and reopen, and then it will show up. The only thing is we have to redo this again. So let's go ahead and drop that over there, but that's okay. So here, and we need to log it too. So first thing we do is just say return data. It's a string. Let's go to here, and that's going to be a return data. Save data is going to be blank. Now I recommend this. You see why I save this to a file now, because you'll grab it a couple of times. So let's go ahead and grab this. This is our connection value. Our database is the training one, and then our collection is grades. Oh, stuck in the wrong spot, didn't I? Okay, it goes here. And then this is grades. That almost became ugly because we had an error that we didn't know why. And now our key value is going to be, let's look at Mongo, because I don't think I have that in the log file because mine's a little bit different. I tested yesterday. So the key is this. And now our value should be a 2. And notice we didn't get the error this time. So it's really that simple. Let's save. This desktop. We had one that we were working on, right? Test flows. Yeah, we'll just overwrite that one. We still got an error. Why do we have an error? Okay, is anything? Oh, our action. Our action has to be get. Okay. Now our error's gone away. So now what we'll do is write this out. So let's just grab a log, put it there. And what we'll say is, what I like to do is put something at the beginning of the log so I know that it's mine. So here we'll say data equals plus return data. And then okay, and now let's save it again. Always save because Javelin doesn't save by itself. So save, and then we'll run in verbose mode, and hopefully we'll have data. There we go. We have data. That simple, that cool, right? So now I'm excited. Hopefully you're excited because we made our first task work. The other ones will go by fast. Don't worry about that. So here is our JSON. Now we only did first and default. Now it gave us two because only one of them's writing the data, this one. The other one's just verifying it. So this is the data it returned. Now from here, you can add this. This is just JSON, right? So then you can just treat it as JSON inside your code. The only thing is you probably would want to remove this unique ID, but you may not. So, all right, so let's go ahead and add the other pieces real quick. Now that you saw that, and like I said, we'll make it move a little bit faster just because I don't want this to last forever. Now, the next one is, so what we'll do now is we'll do our insert. Now our insert, again, it should be first, which is create, but I like using the word insert, but I'm gonna grab this. You know what, we'll use create because we're doing CRUD, right? So create, and I'm just grabbing that. You'll see why. We're going to go ahead and grab this because it's the same. Again, I don't like using redundant code, but you kind of have to in this. Well, you don't have to. You can clean this up, put this in its own little class or its own little method, and just execute that every time and have it return as an object, right? There's things like that you can do. But here, instead of the key value, I need to just string save data, right? So that's all we're doing. So actually, they call it different. They call it a document. So let's stick with their terminology. So, and then I need this to be inside of a try catch. I'm not sure why I missed that, but that's okay. Best practice, always use a try catch. Always, 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 always. Let's see. So this should be, you have to have something here, right? So oops equals oops. Okay. And then here we're going to return nothing until we get it in place. Okay, cool. So now all we're going to do is very simple. Believe it or not, this is easier than the other one. So we have our collection. What we need to do is create a document, because remember, it always does a document. So var document equals, this is going to be our new JSON document. Document. Okay, notice it had like array. See, I didn't play with any of that stuff, but you purposely could. And this kind of, it has brackets like that, not like this, because you're creating almost like a JSON file. And then let's go ahead and close it. Now this got kind of tricky, but here you can actually do JSON because I want to pass in JSON. My user is not going to know what a JSON document is. And then we should do that. So what that does is that's going to take a flat JSON file we're going to look at in a few minutes, and it's going to convert it to a JSON document, and then we're going to save it to our collection. And that's all you got to do. So collection.insert1. Now there's a lot of insert many. You can make this an async if you want by using tasks and stuff. But since we're using Javelin, I'm okay doing it this way. Oh, I'm sorry. Document. Yeah, that's it. Okay, cool. So here, what I like to say is instead of that, put it down here and just say save as completed. Because that will come back to Javelin and you can use it for your logs, right? So how cool is that? So that's fine. This is just telling me my spacing's off, but we'll take care of that with a cleanup when we're done. But that's all you really got to do. The good thing about JetBrains, it's always trying to help you. I think it's telling me I can do it all in one action. Make method get absolute. Yeah, I don't care about all that. So we're good here. And that's not a get. I'm sorry. Did I screw up my get? No, okay, that's here. So we're going to call this create. All right. Create. Okay, perfect. So now we need to go do our switch. Case. So we'll call it create or get. How about insert? There we go. Because you got to think about the end user. Most end users be like, dude, I have no idea what that is. And it's going to be a lot like this one. So we're just going to go ahead and grab this. And notice what I accidentally lost my default. So if you don't know how a switch works, it's looking to see what that value is. And if it can't find it, this value right here. So if that value equals get, if that value equals insert, or if they can't find any of them, it's just going to fall through. So it's always good to have a default because it saves you from an error. Now, what we don't want here, though, is our filter. And we're just going to pass in our temp, if I can spell it. Oops, not URL, safe. There we go. Oh, this needs to be create. There we go. Perfect. See how easy that was? Now, we got it saved. I'm not going to break and test it. I'm going to go ahead and create the other ones because they're going to be pretty fast too. Okay, so let's go ahead, create. Let's just do, what is our CRUD functionality? So it's create, let's put them in order. Read, so technically that one should be read. Let's put some parameters here. Create. Read. Update, so our next one's update. Update. And our last one's going to be, of course, you guessed it, delete. So let's go and grab this. And this one should be delete. Okay. So this one's update and delete. Because remember, our goal here is to do CRUD functionality on Mongo inside Javelin. So our get's working, our insert's working, so now we need to do update. Now, update, unfortunately, needs a couple filters. So it's not going to be this safe. It's going to need a couple of things. So on the update, we need to think about, first we need our key filter. So let's just go ahead and grab our key filter value. But more importantly, we also need to tell it what we're updating, right? Now this one really could use some thought process, and you'll see what I'm getting at when we build this one. So temp, I mean, what did we call it? I think we just called it update, didn't we? No. Well, let's just look. Oh, you know what? We didn't put it in place, did we? No, we didn't put it in place. Okay. So what we need is 2 more of these. Because if you look at an update really is the same thing as a filter. It's just with a different command. And you'll see that in a few minutes. So required update key. So basically in JSON, what key do I want to update? And that's what it's asking, right? So it's pretty straightforward. So we'll call this one update data key, just to be consistent. And this one needs to be an object. It is. Okay, I just want to make sure because again, it could be an integer, it could be a string, update key. And we'll just call this update. Now we need to go down here and we'll grab our filters. We'll copy these 2. Okay, and then from here, this one's going to be update. So instead of filter, we'll just call it update. And just do a copy and paste because it's faster. Okay, update, and then over here, update, and then update. Okay, now you all are probably taking a coffee break right now, or chilling out, or something. But let's get this. The good thing about a video, you can always come back to it, right? So unfortunately, I can't. So we're going to pass in our key, and then we're going to pass in our temp update value. Okay, cool. And now we need to create this method. So again, I'm just going to use the power resharper. We're going to create our update method. The reason I did that is because notice it created the variables for me. And that's perfect. So we're going to get rid of that. And this is going to return nothing. So let's go ahead and get that out of place. Let's go ahead and, it didn't take my naming conventions. So what we're going to do is, just to be consistent, I want it below all this because it comes below here. Okay. What I want to do though is, you know what, do I care? Okay, I don't care. What I was going to do is match these, but you know what, it's fine. I don't like having redundant names like here and here because then it gets kind of confusing, but that's okay. Let's just get it working. So from there, what we're looking at is, first thing we're going to do in our update is grab our connections, right? So let's go ahead and we'll just grab them from here. And it's going to yell because I don't have the same naming conventions, but that's okay. So we'll say temp URL, database, and collection. Okay, cool. So that's got our connections. So the next thing we've got to do is, let's we're not going to have a return. Technically, you could return the data, but we're going to say update complete. And before we go too far, now in in Visual Studio, I can say wrap. I don't know if I can do it here. Let's just see if we can wrap real quick, like wrap something around this. Comment lines. Maybe you see it and I don't, but that's okay. All right, we'll just do it the old-fashioned way. So we're going to hit tab, and we're going to say try, and we're just going to, because normally in Visual Studio you can just wrap this around that, and you don't have to redo it like I just did, but that's okay. See that, threw that one off. Here we go. And here we'll just say var temp equals oops. Okay, no, I keep forgetting that's a string. Oops. Okay, there we go. So, and then this, though, the reason I did that is because we want this below our catch. So no matter what happens, it's still going to return that. So first thing we got to do is build a filter. Now we built a filter up here, right? So let's grab our filter. I'm not going to do that whole conversion thing because I don't think you really need it, to be honest with you. But let's go ahead and grab our filter because we've got to say, what are we updating? Okay. So our filter key is going to be here, and our filter value is here. Okay. Now this is a good test to see if you need that or not, because I'm pretty sure you don't. Now, believe it or not, it's really this simple. So now we've got to build an update reference. Again, you need your builders, and it's got to be a Bison document. It's really hard to say when you're used to saying JSON. Then it's an update method, and we want to set the value. Okay, see, there's a lot of options you can do. So I recommend, just taking your time and playing with this and see what all options you have, because, I definitely don't have time for that type of video. Now here, we want our key and our value. Now, believe it or not, this will only work with a one-level JSON. It doesn't work with an array. It does have the option to do array, but then you have to do multiple filters. And I may show you that later, but the documentation is online. So I'd recommend, we're going to do the update one, just like all the other ones. You can do, a lot of that's kind of like link, L-I-N-Q. So if you've used that before, we want to link our, not a flow, sorry, filter and our update method. Okay, our option, I guess. So, and that's it. That's all you really got to do. So the only thing I recommend to do is research, update an array. And what I mean by an array is when you have embedded data, if you don't know what that means, like here, this is considered an array, right? Because it's embedded data. So I would have to say find student ID 2 scores dot quiz, and it would give me that data. So it's really just concatenating filters, but you'd have to figure out how to smartly do that with Javelin.